I'll just be upfront and say that rent is due and I'm not sorry. Creepshow was a huge deal in 2020. I find it really hard to think of a creator that had as much sway as she did in the community. She pulled in millions of views every month, had friends in basically every community, and could have anyone she wanted become the villain of the week with just a snap of her finger. The reason a lot of people gravitated towards her was because of her very human personality. She was a ride or die who didn't take any crap from anyone, and a lot of people started to see her as more of a friend than a creator. Her videos were also just something you could turn your brain off and enjoy or put in the background while doing other stuff, like what a lot of people do with my videos. Hey, to the artists currently watching this video, I really hope you're drawing art of me or I'm gonna be very upset. You can't see me, but I'm doing the puppy dog eyes and this bit has gone on for too long. Gee. Where the downfall came is when that facade of Creepshow art crumbled. All that was left was Shannon. Weird, creepy, obsessive Shannon. A person who was nothing like the way she portrayed herself on YouTube and actually did some pretty horrible things behind the scenes. Such as... Come on, you didn't think I was actually gonna say all of that right away. It's way too early for that. I never really liked Shannon, and I know, oh my god, you never liked this person who was exposed for being a bad person? But seriously, I did it before it was cool. I always felt like I was being talked down to whenever I watched one of her videos, and what wasn't helping is that I had a brain and could see through a lot of the tactics she used to start outrage. So when she did end up getting exposed by lolcow, I was not surprised. But fear not, as Shannon would have made her bad day get a lot worse once Emily Artful made her video too, which turned my indifference into a righteous what the heck is wrong with you? And with the other videos on my channel, you would assume I would have made a Shannon video a long time ago. But no, I just wasn't ever bothered enough to make a video until now, especially since that seemed like Harley's territory for the most part. However, in the spirit of Christmas and money, I've given you all a gift I know you've been waiting for. Let's talk about Creepshow art. Shannon didn't start off YouTube by making art drama videos, but making story times when that was still an extremely lucrative genre. These did decently, I guess. For me personally, I think the numbers Shannon was getting were really good. Averaging around 10k while also gradually growing was a completely fine place to be at when starting YouTube. Something that is very noticeable, however, is that Shannon had a lot of tables. I mean, she was homeless. As she would tell people herself, during the first few years on YouTube, Shannon was living out of a car. Oregon, a state I only know about due to Gravity Falls. Living there isn't exactly cheap, and something that definitely wasn't helping was the fact that employers could reject a person based on their credit score, which I'll go out on a limb and say shouldn't be a thing. Worse still is that it cost money to apply for jobs. It got so bad at one point that Shannon lost $200 in a day due to getting rejected by 4 different places. America, the land of extortionists. The way Shannon even managed to survive during this period was by buying necessities at Walmart, using a gym membership to shower, and a library card to record her videos, which is actually why the backgrounds kept changing. It's not because she owned a bunch of tables. That'd be stupid. Anyway, her video to truly, properly blow up was a video on Tumblr. This was a video where she talked about a story that had ran her off of her Tumblr account about the Jonas Brothers due to her quote-unquote hateful drawings. There's like quotations around that because there are no archives of this. Shannon says that these were false and the Tumblr people are being snowflakes. I hope I'm not the only person who gagged while saying that. The reason this video ended up going as well as it did was because at the time, people didn't really like Tumblr. It was a site seen for losers. Terminally online SJW snowflakes who could cancel you for just about everything. God, this is so tiring. Who even talks like this anymore? Whatever. Shannon took the success from this video and ran with it, changing up her content to talk about dramas in different communities. This made complete sense given her circumstances and just how YouTube works. A lot of times, people have a video that blows up and don't really properly capitalize on it. Shannon's video on Tumblr completely dwarfed everything else on its own. I myself can say I went all in once I had my first ever video hit 100k, so I do really get it. This is also where Shannon really starts to pop off. She upgraded her setup, she managed to get a job, and was also being paid by YouTube and sponsors. Everything was looking up for her, and she just kept winning. Shannon was on YouTube during the golden age for the tea community. The tea community, for those who live under a rock, are what I like to call the gossip group. What commentary usually is like a really sad and pathetic middle school fight. The tea community cared a lot more about grandstanding and yas queening in it. I don't know. Something that was very common for these channels was to have a villain of the week. A creator or a group of people who would have 3 to 5 videos made on them for the smallest, minute updates on any situation. They'd rather be a dead, decaying corpse instead of making any original content at all. See, it's funny because I've made follow-up videos in the past, see, so I'm a hypocrite. That's the villains of the week while Shannon was growing were people like Shane Dawson and Onision. Like, I wish I was there when these people mattered. It would have been free money. Videos on these creators led to further success for Shannon, and a lot of people getting to know her girl boss personality. While the topics Shannon was talking about brought people in, they stayed for her. However, Shannon's content was boring as f visually. It was entirely carried by her delivery and personality. Other YouTubers even agreed because she made friends with some pretty important people. Jake Yonce had their entire channel demonetized. With how people have YouTube as their primary or even only source of income, this was incredibly scary. What made it worse was that Jake lost monetization for reusing content, which wasn't at all correct. YouTube also denied the request for remonetization, which unsurprising really. But that is still really bad. YouTube wasn't budging, so Shannon stepped in and made an entire video on this, sending this news to more people, which did help Jake get monetization back. This proved Shannon's YouTube persona was a ride or die, something people love, but this also had some unforeseen consequences. Jake would go trending on Twitter after being accused of SA after screenshots surfaced from when they were still 17. These allegations were boosted by prominent figures in the drag community, and I don't actually know if I can say that word. And once one person gets going, everyone has an issue, and a lot of it, big or small, were being blown way out of proportion. I don't really care about whether the allegations should have been taken seriously or not, but what I will say is that Shannon ended up dropping the ball majorly.
I am very loyal. I will stick up for my friends through thick and thin, and there is literally nothing you can do or anyone can do to stop me from doing that. I have gotten into actual fistfights with people over my friends. Someone at one point tried to stab me because I was defending a friend, and I just have lived a very long life where the only constant within myself is that if I love you, I will fight for you. And I don't care if the person is famous, I don't care if they have a bigger platform than me, I will fight for you. And today that is what is happening, because a dear friend of mine is going through absolute hell right now. Their mental health is being torn to shreds, all because of people he looked up to and admired are trying to expose him using fake screenshots that are notably fake evidence, and oddly enough, because their points are so lackluster, they are resorting to using images that were leaked when he was a minor. Images that, so you know, are less than legal. And these people are sharing them all over their platform of over 200,000 followers. If your argument is so bad, so stupid, that you have to turn around and try to expose that person who you're arguing against for having their privacy invaded and having images of them when they were minors exposed to the public, then you, my friend, are gross. Point blank period. You are disturbing, because that is never, ever okay. But I guess Ariel Versace thinks exposing a minor's DMs and photos are the same thing as her doing a racist drag performance about 9/11. So, you know, that's fine. That's cute. That's real fun for her.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Whoa, Shannon threw about 10 tons worth of coal into a situation that was already a country-sized dumpster fire by saying that all the screenshots were faked, and in fact, the people seeking to cancel Jake were spreading nudes of them as a minor. What the f? I appreciate the effort, I guess? I'm not really sure how I was supposed to respond to this, to be completely honest. Did she expect to get away with it? I don't know. But someone on Twitter actually called her out for this. Yeah, I would stop responding too. Better yet, I wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. This was a turning point for me when it came to Shannon and how she handled drama. Up until now, she was fine getting by just going after people who are objectively bad. But the moment that preconceived idea that a person was bad wasn't there and she was defending a friend, Shannon completely wet the bed and ended up making a fool of herself. This was her first proper instance of really doing something like this. So the people who are aware were able to look past this as an honest mistake, even if she seemed very confident saying this was the case in her video, and also didn't apologize after getting called out. But this was just the start of a very dangerous trait Shannon would start displaying more frequently. Her just straight up capping. Jaclyn Hill! Oh god, this entire saga was incredibly embarrassing. A big star who I didn't know existed until I started doing research for my video. But apparently she's pretty big. So big, she eventually launched her own makeup brand, which went, we'll say, poorly. Multiple reports of products coming broken, melted, and with metal? What? Originally, Jaclyn tried to ignore this, but eventually crumbled and offered people refunds. Not the best way for things to end, but it's good that people are getting their money back. Shannon made a video on this with a pretty aggressive tone throughout. Sorry, I just want to point out that Jacqueline really might have just not known. What I believed happened is that she had a very bad production company make these items, explaining the quality. This could have been due to a number of things. Jacqueline sheeping on a production team, the team being at fault. There are many variables to consider, so it's not exactly insane to say that she might have just genuinely been ignorant to the state of her product. However, Shannon is convinced that Jacqueline was terrible and did this intentionally and blah 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 blah. Shut up, blah! Shannon went and double dipped and dug up dirt on Jacqueline's dad. Her dad, mind you, who hadn't been involved in Jacqueline's life for more than a decade by this point.
I needed to talk about it. It's like one of those things that you see that just shakes you to your ultimate core, and you need to call your friend or your boyfriend or girlfriend to talk about it immediately. Only it's 1 a.m. right now and my husband is asleep, and also on the realest of real notes, none of my friends would genuinely care about this. Like, no one I know would give a shit about what I'm talking about. There is not a singular person in my life that I can call right now who would give a flippity flying butt about this. And I just need to get this off my chest and off of my dick. So today we are going to be talking about how Jacqueline Hill, the biggest pathological liar on YouTube, we're talking about how her dad is a cult leader. That is right, my dude. He's a cult leader in Africa.
Oh no, that's not good at all. Throughout the video, Shannon constantly reminds everyone that Jacqueline Hill's father produced the sperm that created her because he was a quote-unquote cult leader.
Except for the fact that Jim Bulls over here, is a bona fide cult leader. No, I am not saying that to be cute. I'm not saying that to meme or prank you guys. I am literally sitting here telling you to your face that the man who provided the semen to make one of the most prophetic and profitable liars on YouTube has a LinkedIn page where he says his current job is that he is God. His job is that he's God. He's just God, which is a completely fine and normal thing to put on a resume, on LinkedIn, anywhere. It's something that I will probably now, till the end of time, put on all my resumes after seeing this, seeing as I didn't realize that that was something you could do, especially not on LinkedIn.
This is literally sins of the father right now, because what is the point of putting Jacqueline in the thumbnail and constantly bringing her up when she doesn't even interact with him? You could say that Shannon just didn't know that Jacqueline's father was no longer in her life. But Mr. Hill did this on his own. Jacqueline wasn't involved in any way, and she shouldn't have to bring this up on her channel. Like, did Shannon want Jacqueline to expose her father or something? I said that as a joke, but apparently she did. Baffling. And I wasn't the only person who thought so, because so did Toby. Toby is a creator who has a million other issues I still don't have the energy to talk about, but they are important to this story. The Many Thoughts of Creepshow was the biggest critique video on Shannon at the time, and one she didn't ignore. The video goes into a lot of issues I've already brought up in this video, and a lot where Shannon just acts maliciously because someone had been a little mean to them. This ASMR channel was called out for being anti-vax because they had a little dispute with Shannon on Twitter, even though they had dropped that dumbass belief. This once again just looked like Shannon trying to demonize a person she didn't like. Toby's video points out that Shannon was getting a little too comfortable in her position and was making mistakes that could no longer be ignored as they were now damaging the careers of others, or straight up harmful to her fans, like linking porn to get her fans to remove a post, or the second video on Jacqueline. Toby also brought up that a lot of this was already brought up to Shannon in private and were ignored because she believed she wouldn't face consequences for her actions. She didn't say that last part, but that's my reasoning for why she thought she would get away with it.
And this is where the bigger issue of all this lies, with how she's been behaving and how she's been acting on social media and on her channel within the past couple of months. Her content and how she behaves and reacts to people online has increasingly gotten more defensive, more childish, more petty, and significantly more emotionally driven without any control over what she says or what she does. And it's extremely negligent, and it's not okay. Every single comment you don't like, you don't need to respond. You need to learn when to leave things alone and when things need to be addressed. You have a very impressionable audience, Shannon. And what you say and how you react to things does matter. You also need to start scripting your videos and take more time for them to come out, not just popping one out every other day. Now, do I hate her? Do I hate Shannon? Of course not. Yes, your behavior, Shannon, as of lately has extremely angered me and makes me very disappointed in you and concerned. But while, yes, some of the topics that you've been talking about recently have definitely pushed you into a place where you go over the line and you get very emotional and you get very defensive and to almost a stance of being a kind of a bully, you do care about what you talk about. You care about people getting justice. You don't like when the underdog is kicked around, just like all of us do, but it's genuine when it comes from you. You are also so fucking good to your fans. You show your gratitude for them all the time, and they deserve better. And I know you can do better than this, Shannon. Remember that girl who was living out of her car with like little to no resources to make videos? Remember what you did, what you had to do in order to get by with like a $2 pen and a fucking sketchbook from Walmart? I don't know where the hell she went, because all I see now is somebody who does no research.
Are we going to continue to insult them, or are we going to try to educate and make them understand that not vaccinating your kids is wrong? It's a wrong thing to do.
Gets extremely defensive to people who don't agree with her and makes really petty tweets from a petty situation as her Twitter banner, like a 12-year-old would do.
I do think that Shannon wouldn't have responded if the video didn't do well, but it already had a pretty decent view count and forced her to respond a day later.
That's TOBI. And straight up, after looking at a good amount of their content, they are pretty stellar. Their art is dope, their videos are dope, and you should definitely go check them out, for sure. They will be, I guess, today's creator of the day. Despite the fact that we are talking about a video that is made to criticize me, it's very clear to see that their content is dope as Heckle Stoltzkin.
Shannon does a pretty smart strategy of love bombing Toby the second the video starts. Other than that, she mostly accepted a lot of her issues Toby had with her. She didn't improve though. Ooh, lol colleagues, ooh. Okay, no. I'm not doing this again. I've spoken about this drama ad nauseum on multiple videos. If you want to run down, go watch one of those. I'm just gonna focus on what Shannon did for my own sake and also really fast. The Hopeless Peach drama was dumb and people who are still harboring pent-up feelings about it all really need to let it go. It was almost 4 years ago. Some creators made up a bunch of rumors about Peaches. One of the biggest was Prismate Luke, who said Peaches was a debater and a person who punches grandmas. Shannon will come out and say that Peaches treated her horribly, lied about her and tried to ruin her relationships. This was originally only posted onto Luke's channel, but she would make her own video shortly after. For context, because that's important, Shannon and Peaches were friends before all of this happened, with Shannon finding Peaches through one of her old videos where she tried to emulate her art style. To Shannon, Peaches was like a little sister to her, if we ignore the lolcow leaks, and when they stopped being friends, it would really hurt her. Something, Luke is a dumbass.
And another person who commented was Hopeless Peaches, who also decided to put herself into the drama despite constantly saying how she doesn't want to be in it, and would just never leave it alone. And when people like Summon called her out for her terrible and biased behavior, she made a community post about how she wasn't friends with Toby, which I didn't actually know she wasn't friends with Toby, because she did everything in her power to defend her, and failified Omnia so much that I thought she was. Because why go through all that hassle for someone you apparently don't even care about? Well, you say how you're going to be taking a break from the drama and comments and all that, which is fine. If you need a break, you need one. I'm not saying you don't have mental health problems, but you would constantly come back to post more things and beg for sympathy. And when you were getting genuine criticism for all the garbage you've done, you decided to bait your audience, going off the grid for hours to make your audience worry that you hurt or killed yourself. And guess what? 2 days later, you were back to making tweets again. And she's been doing this for a long time. It's very manipulative, and she's always using her mental health as a pity-me card.
No. Evidence. At all. Okay, cool. Peaches provided evidence later on that disproved a lot of what Shannon was saying. In fact, she reached out to Shannon to clarify things which Shannon ignored before nuking her Twitter to hide evidence, which is really cool. Shannon's own video, which by the way had 1 million views, had little to no evidence or cut screenshots. People made videos on this garbage video, and after someone leaked it, Shannon accused someone of being sexist and accused Peaches of doxing.
And also, might I add, make a comment. Let it be known that I so appreciate the fact that you try to keep it classy in front of us women by not swearing. I really do appreciate that, because my fragile little constitution simply cannot handle any form of cussing. If I hear someone swear even a little bit, I just fall to pieces. So thank you for that, my most chivalrous gentleman. That's so strange that you need to feel the need to not do that, but alright.
Right. Okay, firstly, he didn't even do anything. This was such a weird point, especially because Manga is just a person who doesn't like swearing. That's it. Shannon merely got a whiff that Manga was involved by that silly dragon and went apeshit. This was world poisoning that could only be equated to the rivers in Indonesia, and I hadn't even spoken about the dragon claim. This was baseless, and YouTube niggas just ate that up. Oh, there are so many things wrong with that video and the people involved. The only way it could get worse is if Shannon accused Peaches of being racist. Just fucking go outside. The reason I will never cover personal drama on this channel is because this shit is so petty and stupid. None of this mattered. Why was this blown up so much? Though there was a silver lining that made my day when I found out about this. So much that I actually made a video about it. The lolcow leaks. The lolcow forums. One of the most frustrating things when looking up any information about art drama. I don't really browse any of these boards, but it's a site dedicated to discuss, well, lol cows, obviously. A lot of YouTubers do use sites like these. I'll come out and say I've used Kiwi Farms a couple of times due to their archival stuff, but Shannon was a poster on this site, but not under her actual name or any identifying stuff. She actually used sock puppet accounts to both flame other YouTubers and subtly defend herself. What a f***ing loser. She had nearly 300 posts on the account and they sure were something. The reason they even got revealed is actually because of Shannon breaking one of the rules on lolcow, which is that people aren't allowed to promote themselves on there. But the final straw for the mods was her doxing her sister's phone number, which, projection, I guess. Here are some of my favorite posts on the site. This would have been bad for nearly any creator, but I believe that Shannon had it much worse due to her style of content. A lot of her success did come from the personality she portrayed in her videos. So when people did start seeing that the way she behaved in other spaces, it led to a lot of them being disillusioned with the character of Creepshow Art. To quote Chainsaw Man, because I'm a massive fucking nerd, there's this reporter on the morning news who's my type. I watched that program every day. I'd even buy the magazine she was in, things like that. One day she was exposed for lying about her age. After that, it was like the floodgates opened. Exposés on her ex-boyfriends and bad behavior aired on TV one after another. She kept appearing on the morning news regardless, but I stopped watching after that program. It wasn't that the reporter had changed, it was my brain that changed. The secret to leading a happy life in this world is that ignorance is bliss. And unfortunately, due to the circle of the internet Shannon was on, everyone wanted to be anything but ignorant. The rise and fall of Creepshow Art, the false facade of the biggest T channel, money, money, money for days. Then you'd have the people who hated her guts just frothing out of the mouth, ready to say, "I told you so." It's me. I'm talking about me. Shannon's own audience, who, let's be real, were drama obsessed, turned on her when these leaks happened because of just how large the gap was between Shannon and how she actually behaved. It's also just really sad to go on an anonymous gossip forum site to defend yourself. I won't say Shannon is a millionaire or something, but she was living pretty good and she threw it all the way to own a few randoms on a website. It's something I just couldn't really wrap my head around. Shannon did try and do damage control by changing her profile picture and banner to say that she was hacked before dropping this community tab post.
This post just going up because I need to talk about this and let you know what's going on. The earlier today I got a message saying that I had doxed a relative, that I had been called out for saying certain things about myself and other creators, and more on a hate forum. And I was confused because I hadn't done that. I would remember doing that, especially the doxing. That's so firmly against what I stand for, and I don't believe in doing that, even to someone I loathe. However, after being sent screenshots of what I allegedly said about me, myself, my friends, and more importantly my relative, I realized what had happened. A couple years back, I made a video about how I had been stalked for over 8 years by a woman I called Amy. That's not her real name because I was protecting her identity. I talked in detail about that situation, how it affected me, and what I had to do in that situation to keep myself safe. But I also discussed how Amy and I kind of reconciled at the end of that and came to an understanding. She even liked the video and supported me making it. We kept in contact over the past couple of years, and I thought I kept a good amount of distance between us, never letting her close enough to hurt me again. Apparently, I am really shitty at that. Obviously, I was wrong, because she has gone back to doing what she has always done, which is try to hurt me, try to turn the people in my life against me, and salivate at the idea of me losing everything. She did this for years, even when I didn't have anything, to the point where when I was dating my husband, she sent him text messages telling him I was a horrible person and he should leave me. She made fake Facebook accounts to tell people about what a terrible person I was, and she spent years fucking with me, non-stop, to the point where I just wanted to end it. I had a sneaking suspicion she had been going back to this earlier this year, when I started receiving more and more images of self-harm and abuse in my inbox, because that was one of the biggest things she would do to me. I didn't want to believe it though, because I am a polarizing creator, and some people on the internet just don't have boundaries. It's why I had to shut down my Instagram, and low-key why I had to shut down Twitter. I've stated publicly and behind the scenes that the amount of harassment I have received has gone down by 100% when I deleted Twitter, and I now know why. Because of Amy. When she was harassing me in high school, I would get so many images of self-harm and self-imagery that it would cause me to shut down emotionally, and I had confided in her back when we were friends that that was one of my biggest sore spots. Seeing something like that was just the number one way to hurt me online, so when it started happening again in Access, I started to think that maybe it was her. Maybe she had gone back to that way of being. But I didn't want to think that because we had been so good the last time we talked. The last time we emailed, it had been lovely, with her catching me up on my life and me doing the same back. I didn't know she was going to use everything to try and paint me as something I am not. And I didn't think I needed to use a VPN so she wouldn't get my IP address. She had shown me pictures of her daughter and been so supportive of my channel. I thought we were okay, but I was wrong. Because she's been posting on certain sites, posing as me, spoofing my IP, doxing my family members, writing things about myself and my friends, sending me death threats from other accounts, making false accounts to spam my comment section, spamming the comment sections of my friends saying hateful things about me in order to get them to drop me, and just all around doing what she did years ago. That's not it, of course, but the amount of time and energy she has put into this is well beyond what I thought she was capable of, and as far as I can tell, she's been doing this for well over a couple years. That is not to say I haven't messed up or been rightfully criticized, mind you. I am not blaming her for people being critical of me. I don't know how she did it, I don't know why she did it, but the moment my relative was brought up out of the blue, I knew it was her. She has literally always been obsessed with my relative, to the point of constantly bringing them up in our conversations, asking me about them, and using them to hurt even me in high school. So I am sending out a cease and desist, and if it comes to it, I will be filing a full restraining order. I don't want to have to do that, because she has a daughter and this will go on her record, which will keep her from being able to get a job and providing for that child, and I keep going in circles in my head about this because I don't know what's right in this situation. But I also don't want this to continue. I just want this to be done. All I have ever wanted was for this to be done, and it's getting to the point where I have to protect myself and my family. I just wanted to update you guys, because there is that narrative floating around now that I said terrible things about myself and doxed a relative of mine online, and it's not fucking true. All I can say is that it's not fucking true. I completely understand if no one believes me. I understand if I lose friends over this, but the fact that it's been over 10 years of this shit is exhausting. The fact that 2 fucking years ago I made a video about this exact thing happening, about this person doing this to me, going to these extremes, hopefully says a lot. This has been going on for nearly half of my fucking life and I am tired of it. I'm going to be keeping the rest of this offline where it belongs, so if you have questions, I'm sorry. I'm not answering them, but I wanted to address it. Again, I talked about this 2 fucking years ago, only to have her go around and do this shit again. I am learning every day how much time she dedicated to harassing me, and it goes deeper than I ever thought.
Wowee, that sure was a lot of nothing. Let's start with the spoofing first, because this showed how little Shannon understood how IPs worked. This person, Amy, who Shannon previously made a video on and spent the majority of this post setting up as this terrible villain to root against, had managed to get a hold of Shannon's IP and spoofed her IP for years, at least 3 years apparently. But where this gets really sad is that the IP address was only partially how Shannon was found out. The other was because of cookies. I'm about to get really technical, so here's Subway Surfers gameplay in the corner. Cookies can only exist in one machine. It's like a fingerprint to show that a device was connected to a certain website, and currently it is impossible to share cookies on other devices. For this to have been this Amy person, they would have had to use the same devices Shannon was using. So either Amy was breaking into Shannon's house and using those devices, or had managed to hack into Shannon's devices and use them remotely to smear Shannon's name. That's stupid. Like, my fault, hacker man. I'd say this is John Swan. It was my autistic cousin levels of stupid. But Amy being a super hacker capable of doing this for 3 years is somehow worse. Like, was Amy working for the f***ing CIA or something? For Shannon, this is probably an already really bad week. And thankfully, it didn't get better. This is the final nail in the coffin for Shannon, because you could still argue what was happening was still just petty internet shit. Here, however, this is where the world got to see just how unhinged Shannon really was. Emily released tweets accusing Shannon and her husband of stalking and harassing Emily for over a decade. I'm currently shaking and crying because Creepshowa is finally being exposed for the absolute terrible person she is. I have known Shannon for many years, even years before she started her YouTube channel. She has copied, stalked, harassed, and threatened me and my children's lives. She has used revenge porn against me, tried to use my drug addiction against me. She has literally gotten me fired from multiple jobs, causing me to be homeless. This person has pushed me to the brink of suicide multiple times, and then tried to blame it on a mutual friend when I finally caught her red-handed by tracing her IP. Shannon, you are Amy. All the things you claimed Amy did to you are things you have done to me. Receipts to come. I've got years worth of them. Emily released a 2-hour-long video on Shannon, going into detail on all of Shannon's actions for the past 10 years. One of the worst things Shannon and her husband Anthony did was get Emily fired from her job after hacking into her Facebook account and sending her employer NSFW of her. I'm skipping over a lot of what happened Shannon did because it's really dark and triggering. I really suggest watching the whole video Emily made, because the summary of everything doesn't really do it justice at all. Shannon and Anthony stalked and harassed all of her accounts, had revenge porn of her, made threats against her children, and Emily talks about one story where Anthony SA'd her. For most of this, Emily was battling drug addiction, and without having to deal with this, she also contemplated self-deleting. There aren't many other words I could use to describe Shannon and her boyfriend other than pure evil. That's the only way I can reasonably explain Shannon's actions and how she managed to live with herself knowing she did all of that. The entire time she was on YouTube, when she was ruining Emily's life, she'd hop on and act like there was no issue. It's terrifying. There aren't many creators who I would say deserve to lose everything the way Shannon lost everything. Her channel bled over 200,000 subs, and I think she got off way too easy for what she did. If she had uploaded anything, I'm sure people would have flooded the comments calling her a terrible person and all the rest. Thankfully, she didn't come back, and we all lived happily ever after. For a little while after this, you couldn't go anywhere without memes of Shannon having a podcast or other sock puppets. But once attention was brought to them, they'd shortly be deleted. That was how people expected things to end with Shannon, until she came back and dropped a 2-hour video on Emily, The Lies of Emily Artful, with evidence. 90 pages of content were used to expose Emily for slandering Shannon and her boyfriend. This was made to disprove that she was a stalker, and one of the way she did this was by digging up decade-old evidence of things Emily had said as a teenager, including her admitting to have a crush on a teacher. No guys, I am not a stalker. Here is proof that I stalked Emily Artful. Tee-hee! And the smoking gun of all of this. An email proving Amy was real and also called Amy. Thanks for watching this weird video I made. Let's call it a Christmas special for the sake of my sanity. I really appreciate anyone who stuck around for the whole thing. But I want to give a super thanks to Scourge the Cat 67, Sarah, Israfel's Fire, Clownkeeper, Haven Lady, Saban, King Johnny TH445, Ant, Pwep, Oliver, Neko Cho Official, Grizzly Bear 1996, Kinda Snowy, and Alien Hunter. If you want to have your name read out and special Discord colors, then give me your money. Wait a minute, that makes me look really bad. I'm gonna go now. Have a good Christmas, everyone.